Hello friends, welcome to today's video. So today we'll be discussing the chapter 3, which is the customer relationship. In the previous chapter 1 and chapter 2 we have discussed the definitions of the customer relation management, the models of CRM and much more. Today I will be understanding as to what exactly customer is. Normally when we say customer, we tend to have a belief that there is a business which is having a product and it is selling to a customer. So customer, we think it is specific a single person normally. So this type of selling is a B2C, where a business is B is business to C is the customer. Okay. Whereas there is another type of customer where which is a B2B, which is a business to business. Let's say a mobile manufacturing company, it sells mobile phones to customers directly. But then to get the products for manufacturing the mobile, like let's say processors, camera, motherboard and all, it needs to take this product from some other company, some other businesses or other organization. So the other organizations are supplying the company, supplying these raw products to this company. So this type of relation is the B2B, which is a business to business. So here this business is the customer to this business, whereas normal B2C is a business to a direct customer, which is the end customer. Okay, so that is the difference between B2B and B2C. So customer can be a business or a single individual customer. It is essential to maintain a relationship in B2B as well as the B2C. So what exactly is a relationship? When there are two parties involved, when they move from a state of independence to dependence or interdependence. The state of independence is like first they were not into relation, but then once they have moved to a state of dependency, let's say I'm purchasing an Apple iPhone, then to purchase the Apple iPhone, I'm dependent on the Apple company to produce the Apple iPhone. So that is the state of dependency. Or let's say if I want to purchase some other product, let's say an Android mobile, then in that case I am dependent on the Android OS, which is developed by Google. So that's also kind of interdependence. So initially they were not into relationship when they were in a state of independence. So this relationship exists when two parties move from the independence to the dependency on each other. Okay. Next, there are few key terms which we need to understand in the relationship. The first one is a transaction. Like when a customer buys an occasional tea from a coffee shop, this is a transaction. Let's say if you are performing a single transaction, or let's say if you are purchasing a Lay's packet, which is a potato chips, once from a shop, and you are not repeating it again, then this is known as a transaction. You are just doing it once and you are not repeating it again. So this is a simple transaction. Whereas if you see a relationship is the one whereas the customer returns repeatedly because whether he likes the store's atmosphere or the coffee or whatever it is, when he's repeatedly coming to that shop, then in that case these transactions over a period of time will eventually lead to relationship. So the important point which you need to remember is not all transactions are relationships. Okay, transactions over a period of time will lead to relationships. So this is a key term which you have to understand the difference between a transaction and a relationship. Next, so what is the importance of a relationship? The fundamental reason for relationship in a business is economy. Economy means a profitability for both to the business as well as to the end customer. For business, it is like direct profits. For customer, it is the value which is being generated when he's purchasing the product or the service from the business. What happens is from a business perspective, if you see, once you maintain a better relationship, then what happens is it is very easier to acquire the new customer, to identify, to satisfy and retain the profitable customers. Let's say you are a fan of Apple Apple company, how you became fan of that company? Because you have liked their product like iPhone, iPad and all. Now the Apple has a huge customer database. So once they have a huge customer database, and now that means they have entered in a relationship with these customers. So once this fan base is created or this customer base is created, it is very easy for Apple to sell their products, eventually leading to profitability to them. So this they are doing by giving good products and good services to the customers, which is indirectly growing the relationship between the business and the customers. So that is another importance. And if you see from the economy perspective, one more thing is it reduces the marketing cost. As I have just said, if the Apple produces any new product, then the customers will automatically know more of those products. So Apple need not do much of the marketing. Like it did not do much of the advertising for its existing customer. So eventually what will happen is it will reduce the marketing cost for that company. So once you have a good relationship, this is another benefit which is reduced marketing cost. And like once you have a relationship, like you have this customer database, then you have identified the customers very well. Then what will happen is you will target those customers. You have identified the needs and requirements of the customers. Then you are in a better position to serve the customer. So that will also help you become profitable. Next, as I've just said, in there are two types of relationships, which is B2B and a B2C. So in business to business relationships, if we see, normally what happens is there are people in this organization of, let's say, business B1 and the business B2, which is the organization B2. So like there are many interpersonal relationships. Let's say these two businesses are selling, let's say this is a Nokia and this is a um, like the raw material manufacturer for the phones. So in this case, what happens when this Nokia purchases the raw products from this company, there are so many interactions that are going on between these two companies. So these sometimes over a course of time, when the relationships are good, then they tend to become interpersonal. So these you have to remember. And one more thing is relationships change over time. If you are serving the business better, then relationships will be good. Means they will have a trust and commitment. But then if over a course of time, if the relationship is not good, then what will happen is eventually it will lead to the loss of relationship or the lack of trust. So that is why relationships change over time. This you have to remember. Just I have said, parties may become closer or they become more distant. I mean, they are separated. Next, coming to the customer-supplier relationships. Any relationship will generally have a 5 phases which are generally seen. The first one is the awareness. Here, the possible exchange partner. As I have just said, let's say Nokia is manufacturing mobile. There will be so many raw material suppliers. Okay, R1, R2, R3. So what happens initially? Let's say the company Nokia is in contact with R1. Then it will purchase the product from this. So this is a new relationship. So what will happen is initially there will be a small exchange where they will be aware of the quality of the product that R1 is giving to Nokia. At the same time, R1 will understand what the Nokia is actually looking for. So this is the first phase where both of these, that is the Nokia and the R1, they are developing the awareness about each other's business. Likewise, if the Nokia is interacting with the other raw suppliers, similarly the first phase is the awareness phase, where the first phase is awareness. They are getting aware of the other businesses to them. Next is exploration, explore capabilities and performance. So when the Nokia is in contact with R1, then over a course of time, what it will say is what is the quality of the product that the R1 is delivering and what are the performance standards and all this. After the awareness period, this is the exploration, which is the second phase. Now, once you have explored better and now you have understood that this R1 is good compared to R1, R2 and R3, then what will happen is the Nokia will purchase more products from the R1. So what will happen is this will create the interdependency and it will lead to an increase in the transactions. So this is the third phase. And then the fourth one is once there is an interdependency and the transactions. Then there's a commitment on both sides, that is a Nokia as well as R1, that they are committed to each other, that whatever products the Nokia wants, the R1 will deliver with the same performance and standards. So this is the fourth stage of commitment. So these are the normal phases. Whereas if you see the fifth stage, let's say if the relationship between Nokia and the raw suppliers is not good, then what will happen is Nokia will eventually will not work with these companies, rather it will go through R3. So this R1 and R2, it will exit the relationship. So this exiting of relationship is nothing but the dissolution. So these are the 5 general phases which are formed in a customer-supplier relationship. That is, the awareness is the first stage, where you get aware of the other organization. Then you explore its capabilities and performance. The third is the expansion, like where you increase the interdependency. The fourth one is that you have built a good relationship and now you are committed with that business. And the fifth one is the dissolution, in the case where relationships are not good and then the performance are not good, then you will break with that, you will break the relationship with that organization, which is known as the dissolution. So these are the 5 general phases in a relationship in terms of the customer and supplier relationships. Next, now there are so many theories that are being proposed. So normally when we talk about the customers and suppliers, there are 5 school theories which are predominant, which are the IMP school, Nordic school, Anglo-Australian school, North American school, and Asian school. So these are some of the theories, some of the school theories that are being developed. Now we'll be discussing about them one by one. So starting with the industrial marketing and the purchasing school, which is also known as the IMP school in short. So what it does, it focuses on the B2B relationship, that is the business to business relationships. So this school tells about business to business relationships and what are the key aspects to that. It says that relationships are composed of the actor bonds, that is the interpersonal contact between actors. As I have just said, in a big organization, B1, B2, let's say here a technical team is there and here also technical team is there, then this technical team is nothing but the actor of this organization. Similarly, the technical team of this is an actor of this organization. So there will be interaction between these two technical departments of these two companies. So which is nothing but the interpersonal contact between the actors. So when the technical departments have a good interaction with the other technical department of other organization, then over a course of time they will tend to have a interpersonal contacts. So this interpersonal context is essential. They should have a good rapport developed and they should have a good understanding of each other. Only then it will lead to successful relationships. So this IMP school says that actor bonds are very essential. And the second one is the activity links, commercial technical between companies in the interaction. Let's say there's a commercial transaction going on between some activities happening. So it tells about the importance of the activity. If during the activity everything is good between these two companies, then that will lead to a good relationship. So that is what it says. And then the third focus is on the resources. The first is the actor bond, second is the activity, and the third is the resources. The resources like HR, finance, etc. It says that the performance of the activities of these departments is also essential for a good B2B relationships. So this is what the IMP school says. If you want to have a good relationships, then you have to focus on the actor bonds, which is how the interpersonal contacts of your organization are having with the other organization, and during the transaction of the activity, how things are going on, that you have to monitor. And the third is the resources of your own organization, and you have to check the performance of the activities of those resources. So this is what IMP school emphasizes on. Next is the Nordic school. So Nordic school says in a supplier customer relationship, it says that the service is the most important. Whereas if you see in the previous, in the IMP school, they were focusing on the actor, activity and resources, whereas in the Nordic school they are emphasizing on the role of service. They see everything as a service. So they say that there are three major characteristics which are essential for a good commercial relationships, which is known as the triplet of relationship marketing, and those three are the interaction. As I have just said, if there is an interaction between these two companies, then what it says is you have to see these interactions as services. Whenever you interact, you need to get a feel that you are providing a service to the other company. So they're emphasizing on the service. And the second is the dialogue. The suppliers and customers are in dialogue with each other, and it is bilateral. Normally what happens is one of the company dominates over the other. So this Nordic school says you should not see it like that. You should always see it as a service, that you are servicing the other company. So when you have a concept of service associated during your interaction and during your dialogue, then what will happen is you will listen to the other company people and also their own perspective. So this is a bilateral. Dialogue should always be bilateral is what this Nordic school emphasizes on. And the third one, what it says is the value. It says the service performance is a key contributor to the customer perceived value. So it says the performance is a key. As I have just said, all the interaction is nothing but a service. Then this performance of this is a key contributor which generates the value between these two organizations. At the end of the any business, value is what is most important, since the other business is a customer to this, and the customer value is the most important. And here you provide the customer value by providing a good service performance. So this is what the Nordic school says. It emphasizes on the role of service. Next, the Anglo-Australian school. So what this school of model says is companies not only form relationship with customers but also along with a wide range of other stakeholders, including the employees, shareholders, suppliers, buyers, and governments. So what it says, when a company is trying to sell a product, let's say in an India, then you should not only focus on the end customer, which are the Indians. Then rather that you have to also give emphasis on the employees of your organization who are working in India, and the other shareholders of India, and the suppliers in India, and the buyers in India, and also the Indian government. So these are some of the other stakeholders. So companies should not only focus on the end customer, but rather they should also see the other stakeholders that are associated with the end customer, like employees, the shareholders, the suppliers, buyers, and the governments. So what it says is you have to always satisfy these six major stakeholder markets. So generally it says that there are six major stakeholders for any company to have a good relationship, and those are, first is the internal employees. So whenever you want to have a good relationship, then the first market is the internal market, that you have to focus on your employees. That is the internal markets. And the other is the supplier alliance markets, where the major suppliers, like the other suppliers who are providing the raw material, then you need to have a good emphasis on that also. And the third is you need to have a good recruitment market as a labor market. Fourth one is you have to focus on the referral market. You have to ensure that the word of mouth publicity is always good. And then the influence market, and finally the customer market. You need not go much into detail. Just remember that it focuses on the stakeholders, which are the six major stakeholders, and just remember these six names. That would be sufficient. Next is the North American school. So North American school, what they say is relationship reduce the transaction cost. As we have just discussed in the first slide, that the marketing cost is reduced if you have a good customer relationship. This is what it says. And that the trust and commitment are the important attributes of the successful relationships. So this we all know by default, and this is what the North American school says, that trust and commitment are very essential for the successful relationships. Then the final school is the Asian or the GUANXI school. So in this, what it says, when to have a relationship, it says it focuses on the special type of relationships, where it says in a specific network you have to conduct the business. So how you have to do, So business is conducted in the networks and the rules and the status are invoked. Network members can only extend invitation to others to become part of the network if the invitee is a peer or a subordinate. So it says that in order to have a business to business, then in that case you can perform that within the network, and then you choose the other business within your network, and then that is based on the invitations. Since here what happens is, since you are in a definite network and this is a restricted one, it is not open to all because it is dependent on the invitations. So once there is a restriction on the invitation, then there is an obligation to obtain resources through continual cooperation and the exchange of favors. So there is obligation on both of them, because one is inviting and the other is providing the invitation. Then there is an obligation. So just remember that this school focuses on this type of relationship. You need not go much into detail of this. So these are the some of the important school theories of the customer relationships. Here in this chapter, we are focused mainly on the customer and the supplier relationship, which is on the B2B, which is from the business to business. So if you have liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos. And thank you for watching.